During our class videos, you may hear our poets and playwrights use terms that are new to you. We have created a list of key terms and definitions that you can refer to at any point during our video lectures. This list is available on the Videos and Readings class page, where you can read it or download it as a PDF. If you would like to find and review these terms while you watch each class video, you can stop this video, go back to the Videos and Readings class page, and download the PDF. There you can play this video and each of the following class videos. If you have any questions about these terms, we encourage you to ask your teaching team in the weekly class discussions.
Jenni Page White is a dramaturg as well as the literary manager at Actors Theatre, Louisville. Dramaturgy credits at Actors include the world premieres of Wesley Girl and This Random World in the 2016 Humana Festival. Previously, she was the literary associate at Steppenwolf Theater Company. Her dramaturgy credits include OK, Bye, The Fundamentals, and The Birthday Party. She has developed plays with American Theater Company, Sideshow Theater Company, and Livewire Chicago Theater. She holds a BFA from the University of Oklahoma and an MFA from the University of Iowa.
So the play that I'd like to talk about is called We're Gonna Be Okay. It's written by Basil Kremendal, who was also a student at the University of Iowa, who I have a long relationship with. So hello, my name is Jenni Page White. I'm the literary manager at Actors Theatre of Louisville. And a lot of what my job entails is working with writers on productions of their new plays. And these are plays that have never been produced before. So there are a lot of conversations that go into how the text might evolve as it's getting on its feet for the first time. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is about how a sense of place might appear in your work and how you might start thinking about that as you're writing. And that's a really broad idea. So let's try to break it down just a little bit. Place can inform how a character talks. It can inform a character's social standing. It can inform how they might go about getting what they want. It might inform what they want. It might inform what stands in their way of getting what they want. All of those things can be tied to place. So it might be easy maybe if I start talking in specifics about a play that I've worked on. So one of the last plays that I worked on was set during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So right then and there, you have a sense of time and a sense of place. And it was set in what the writer called Middle America. So it wasn't actually tied to a city, but it did give us a sense of the social values that the characters might be familiar with. These are not characters that live on the East Coast in a big city or on the West Coast. These are characters that live in the heartland of America. So that means that maybe they have less access. They're not urban characters. So that means that maybe their value systems are a little bit different. There were two families that lived side by side, a middle-class family and a working-class family. And the journey of the play was about them wanting to build a bomb shelter together on their shared property line. So the way that this writer was thinking about place and class really was in how those different viewpoints met up against each other. So the middle-class family, the father of the family, Ephraim, was really gung-ho about building this bomb shelter because he had nothing that was holding him back from doing it. He had plenty of economic means to be able to build the bomb shelter. The working-class family, the father of that family, Saul, had a lot more hesitation about building it because he didn't have any economic means to put money into it. And the argument was like, well, you have your work ethic, you have these intangible things that you can offer, like building it with your hands. But that led to a conflict of, is that really of value or not? So, how to make sense of, so you have a conflict that's informed by their economic means. There's also different ways that their social standing shows up in the way that they talk about building the bomb shelter together. And these are maybe ways that are a little more subtle. Ephron was very verbose. He talked a lot. He was very eloquent. He had the majority of the dialogue in the play because he just talked and talked and talked and talked, which of course is very annoying to the other characters. When I asked the writer about why that was, he said that that's actually tied to class as well. That he has learning, he's educated, he's very comfortable with expressing his ideas. The working class character, Saul, was a little bit more quiet. He was more reserved. The audience really had to think about what is he feeling, because he didn't express it. He didn't tell you exactly what he was thinking. You just had to guess at it. And for the playwright, this was tied to his class. The fact that because he's not so educated, because he spends his days in manual labor and not talking to people, that he's less practiced with speaking. So it's not just when you're talking about economics that your background, your financial means comes up. It's also in these other subtle ways about how you talk, not just what you're talking about, but how you talk. The interesting thing about setting it in the 1960s during the Cuban Missile Crisis is that the writer was also thinking about what was in the culture at the time. The 60s in America was a time period of great change. There was a big civil rights movement. Women's lib was just at the very beginning of what it was. Okay, so the 60s. So there's a big civil rights movement. There's a push for equal housing, equal access for people of color. There's also a push for women to have more access outside of the domestic sphere. So women started asking questions about, like, why do I have to stay home and raise the kids? Why can't I have a job? And these were ideas that were just at the very beginning of taking over the world and becoming common. So that is in the air in the time period that this playwright chose to set their play. That doesn't mean that the individual characters who are at the center of the play are very comfortable and familiar with the ideas. They're new ideas to the characters as well. So we thought a lot in conversation about how the text might change, about where did this character hear this idea? Did they get it from a commercial? Did they have coffee with a neighbor friend and heard it that way? Is this something that they just sort of heard whispers about? And, they might be talking about these ideas not in a factual way, not in the way that we in 2017 know the history of. These characters are talking about them in the way that they might have heard them for the first time. Or they might not have heard them, and they might be encountering these ideas on stage for the first time. So that's also, those ideas contribute to the sense of place, not just place, but also time. That also contributes to conflict. And in playwriting, conflict is always at the foreground of what are we trying to do. So if one character has heard the whispers of ideas about maybe I shouldn't be at home with the kids, who is the other character on the stage who hasn't heard that idea yet, or maybe has an opposite view, and where does that come from? And do we have the opportunity for those two characters to talk about that? So, case in point, in this play, as they're talking about a bomb shelter, and that's really the primary driving force of the play, is we need to make ourselves safe. We need to build a shelter so that we can all be safe from the sense of impending danger. Then the idea of what is safe becomes very layered. Even if you build a bomb shelter and you get in a hole, you might be safe from nuclear bombs, but what are the other ways that you feel unsafe? And maybe some of these ideas that are in the air, like the fact that straight white men in 1960 are no longer, it's not a given that they should have everything in the world. There are other people who want some of what they have. Does that make them feel unsafe, even if they're in a bomb shelter in the hole? So we're thinking about safety in a layered way. Okay, so an example of dialogue where we start to sense the time period and also class. So the middle class family, Ephraim and his wife Lena, Lena's been chatting with her neighbor, the working class family next door, and the working class mother of the next family, Mag, finds out that Lena has a college degree, which is really unusual in 1960. And the working class woman, Mag, she thinks this is really great. I've never met someone with a degree. You should use it. You should do something with this knowledge that you have. And Lena, the middle-class woman with the degree, that's actually new for her to hear someone else say, "Oh, maybe I should do something." So that takes place in one scene, and in a later scene, we see that idea get translated, and then she tells her husband, "I think maybe I should teach. I think maybe I should do something with this." And Ephraim, her husband, who's the talker, we get to watch him get put off balance by this idea that his wife is no longer going to be at home making dinner for him when he gets off of work. And of course, this happens in the middle of a backyard picnic. So all of both families are around and they're watching this exchange, which puts pressure on the fact that they're having this conversation in public. And he just immediately shuts her down. He says, "Come on, Lena, there's always going to be work at home that has to be done." And when he says that in a very concise statement, it's unusual because he's so verbose and so talkative. And when he chooses to make a short sentence, like, come on, and that's all he has to say is, come on, Lena, and that's the end of the conversation. So we sense in the audience that something's different, and that maybe there's actually something unresolved between the two of them. The only thing that I'll add is that I think if you're in the middle of writing or rewriting and thinking about the place that these characters live and what they have to deal with, the best tool is to try to listen to people who live in that situation. I don't subscribe to the idea that writers should only write what they know, because I think that writing is about finding out what you don't know. But I do think that you have to do your research, and part of the research in bringing to life a specific location and characters with specific circumstances is listening to what those circumstances are. So whether that is going to the place where these characters live and listening to people talk, or if it's reading stories about these people or personal narratives of people who are in that position, it's really just about listening, and then you can translate that into the writing. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Great.